I'm Roniel.
I'm DaRon.
Oh man. So yeah, man. Any interesting movies that you're wanting to see? I mean, I know that Spider-Man No Way Home is coming out December 17th, I believe. I'm excited to see that. I don't know if you've seen a new trailer. I think they show too many things in trailers nowadays. Like
Yeah.
you kind of see the whole goddamn movie.
Yes. And anything that's good is in there. Like if it's a comedy, all the funny jokes are in the trailer and everything else is usually just ho hum.
It takes away the suspense, like
It
the
does.
whole surprise of the movie. Because when you go there, you're like, I seen that, I seen that. I know that's this kid. Like,
Yeah.
save some for the movie, man. Like, what's up? Like, stop it.
Yeah.
But that seems like it's gonna be a good one. I'm actually probably gonna go see Ghostbusters Afterlife this weekend. Um,
Is
I
that
think it's
another
gonna be
one where they changed? Is that still the all women one?
no.
Okay.
This is more of the little kids, the kids
Oh,
one,
okay. So I did not like their reboot where they made it all women. It made no sense and it wasn't good. And all they did was throw in a bunch of sexism just toward men. Like the way they were treating the male secretary was
yeah, you mean Mr.
inappropriate.
Thor?
Yeah.
They made
Yeah.
him a dummy.
Yeah, they did. They did. And having been sexually harassed and assaulted in a workplace, I don't tolerate it from either sex toward either sex. And it uh, particularly infuriated me the way they were behaving and talking at the in that show. It's like, that's not acceptable when it's males toward females or toward other males, and it's not acceptable when it's females doing it in the reverse direction. But that's my own hang up.
Yeah, I get it. I really didn't care too much. I thought it was okay, but I didn't really like the way the storyline was.
It was terrible. It wasn't well thought
Mm.
out. They basically said, well, if we just change the sex on everyone, suddenly that'll make it a good movie. They did that. They've done that on a few movies lately where it just made no sense.
I just think, like I'm hoping that this one is funny. Just want something funny to look at
Yeah.
and see. So I'm hoping this one is funny. It looked like it was going to be funny, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. Like I really don't care too much about it,
Yes.
but I'm looking for a good laugh. So hopefully it's funny, and I'll be happy this week. I think I'm gonna go see it tomorrow, but hopefully it's funny. So we'll see how that actually turns out.
I'm hunting
The
bear.
next, you said the who?
I'm hunting bear
Oh, you're hunting bears
this weekend.
this weekend. Oh man, you're. I'm told you, you're a real hunter. Like these threat hunters out here don't know what to get with you. They need to talk to you because they don't understand what hunting really is.
No, no, they don't. That's true.
So
That's true.
yeah, so that we'll see how that turns out. So far it's been a little dry on the Netflix end, so not too many good things to watch. Besides, if you haven't already, go watch Red Notice. Um, it's a little dry right now, unless you're watching like some series. So yeah, I have not much to talk about there. So can't wait to see some of these interesting movies. And actually, next year things will be. Hopefully, it'll be even better now that everybody's going to the movie. So
Yes, yes, and it'll be easier to film. I'm actually waiting because in December the next season of The Witcher comes out.
oh yeah, I can't wait for The Witcher. I have a few shows that I'm waiting
Yeah,
on.
yeah, there are actually a couple that are coming down the pipe. So anyway, well, I would be interested if we could have a discussion to try to help individuals who are maybe new, either one, to an industry, two, to the commercial world, three, to just, job hunting, period. And if we can't have a talk about salary negotiation, but this extends even beyond those of us, well, not those of us, those who happen to be searching for a job. I'm not.
Me either.
or anything like that, but this also goes to trying to negotiate your raises and salary after you've been hired, benefits, et cetera, in a manner that is commensurate with your worth, what you bring to the table, the talents you bring, and things of that nature.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know their worth, and especially in security. Again, we talked about this before, where it's that, how do I say this? It's that imposter syndrome, where, for instance, like, how many times have you seen, especially where we used to work, um, where because you had so much experience and you're so smart that people want to be you, but they're looking at themselves like, man, I can never be like this guy. So let me put on a fake or an act to think that I'm better than this guy.
Right.
So you have these things where you have this imposter syndrome where you feel like you're not worth it.
Right.
And if you don't feel like you're worth it, then what makes you think an employer going?
Right. Right. Yes.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No, please.
So you really have to know your worth when it comes to negotiating. You got to know what you are worth and know that you're not overdoing what you're worth.
Right.
Because there's an overdue and there's an under.
Right.
So you have to know again, the sweet spot, what your worth, what your goal is, and then you'll have your medium and your minimum or your maximum where you want to be at. So you have to know what you're worth before you can actually negotiate anything, because just to be honest, from what I've seen, employers, they want to get you for the best deal they can, especially if you're very talented.
Yes.
They want to get you for the lowest price that they can get you. They don't want to get you for the highest price. They want to get you for the lowest. Because if I can get you for $55K, that somebody else may offer you $100,000. If I can get you for $55K, why not? But there's also other things that DaRon will talk about that can screw you up if you're getting, asked for $55K and this is a high quality position, and people are asking, well, what the heck is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Girl.
Right. That's a good point. So as you said, you have to understand how much you're worth, and that includes understanding about the low and the high end, and it needs to be adjusted for whatever the position happens to be, whatever it is that you happen to be bringing forward. So if you're new to the industry, obviously you should expect less than someone who's been doing it for 5, 10, 15, 20, however many years. Obviously, I think that stands to reason within your field. Now, when you're talking with a company, they may try to make you feel small. They may try to diminish your accomplishments. For example, let's say you're going after an engineering position and you happen to have the appropriate commensurate engineering degree. They may sit there and say, well, yeah, but I could get 1 million people in here right now in this position, in this seat, with your degree, and you don't have an appreciable job history and experience. So I think you should make, and then they lowball that number hard. I know I've heard frequently when trying to negotiate salary for a new job, you'll hear everyone give the advice of get your employer to give you a range or a number. And I don't know about you, but that almost never happens. Employers will fight tooth and nail, and they're in control of the discussion and situation. At least from what I've seen, they're the ones who can sit there and just keep pushing back and pressuring you to give a salary range. And if you don't, well, then they just move on.
Man, yeah, you got to have a number.
Yeah.
They're going to always ask a number. And that's always everybody's fear. Like, what should I tell them? What should I do this? But again, you know your worth. You know your experience. You know what you're willing, what they're going to probably be willing to give you. A lot of times they're not going to want. They're going to try to low. Again, they don't really care about, what you feel like you're worth. They want to get the least amount for you as they can, so they can save money in their pocket.
Yes.
And again, a lot of companies are willing to pay you, but they want to see if they can get you for the least amount to save money.
Yes.
So the biggest thing is you just got to know. You got to stand your ground. You got to know what you want. And even if you, like I always tell people, I say, If you don't know what number you really want, then think about what you're worth and picking that happy medium range. So if you really wanted 70 grand, but you don't think your employer is going to give you that, then what would you be willing to take?
Right.
So what's the happy medium or that median that you would want to take? And a lot of people say, well, maybe 66,000 will be that happy spot for you where you can work your way up there, because you're eventually going to get a raise anyway, right? You're going to eventually, if you're doing great at the job, you're just afraid of that, you can get at that happy range. This is why I said a minimum and a maximum.
Right.
Like it may not work for everybody, but most people who are scared and don't understand, I'll say, what's your minimum range you accept that you'll be happy with? And what is the maximum range that you really want? Now, I always say go for what you want, but if they don't, there's, to me, a way I see it, there's no win or losing here. They can either say yes or they can say no.
Right.
If you want 100 grand and they tell you, and you go with that first, and they say, no, we can't do that. Okay, you start working down. What about this? And here's what I can offer, and this is why I feel that I'm this, or blah, blah, blah. Selling yourself. You got to know how to sell yourself. You have to sell it. Your resume and everything. A lot of times, if you're not like DaRon, it's not going to speak for itself. But a lot of times you have to sell that, especially if you just come out of college as well with less experience. And if you were in college, you should have done a lot of internships or different things to build that experience. So a lot of people don't understand, like, you got to understand, again, back to this thing, knowing what you're worth and what you are willing to take. But I would always say start off with your maximum price first and then negotiate down.
Right. Yes. Negotiate down. Don't negotiate up, because there is no up. There is only down in a negotiation like that. This is, it's kind of like when you're buying a car. Just imagine yourself being the car salesman, because that's what you are. You're the one selling yourself. Just like the car salesman is selling the car to you. It's the same exact position, so that the person who's selling you that vehicle, they're going to start at high end, hoping you won't negotiate down. And then, but they have to understand that, yes, I'm going to be willing to go down to a certain point. And then there comes a point where they're just not going to sell the vehicle to you because it's not worth it. It's the same exact thing. So you are the car salesman and you are selling yourself. You have to have that maximum, start off there and let it move down if it has to, but only to a point where you're just no longer willing to budge anymore because it's not worth it to you. I know I had, I mentioned to you early in my career, after a little more than 4 years of experience and a college degree, IBM tried to go through and hire me, and the amount that they were suggesting was obscenely low. They were actually talking about, I think it was 55 or 65,000, something like that, which is ridiculous and insultingly low. And it was low even for back then in the security realm, which is what I was going to be doing, especially considering I already had substantial experience and already had certifications and things of that nature through the government. So it was an easy pass. It was the easiest pass in my life. And I just kept going, and I got a better job as a direct result. But if you take the first one that you get, I mean, you're probably going to get hosed.
Like DaRon said, trickle down. And don't budge once you get down to your minimum. Always have a minimum, maximum. Don't budge, because, again, they're trying to get you for the least amount that they possibly can.
Yes.
Again, people have to understand, especially employees or people that are trying to become employees, have to understand the companies don't care. I mean, just to be honest, they don't care. It's a business. It's not personal.
Right.
But they don't care. They want to get you for the best price.
Right.
And I always have to tell people that when they're negotiating, you have to understand that this is a business, it's not personal.
Right.
So you got to treat yourself as, if you really want me, this is what I want, and
yes.
This is the least I will take.
Yes.
Or, I'm not saying this is always the best way, but you can always use another tactic as well. And that's, a lot of people don't like this. A lot of companies don't like this, where, there are multiple other places that will offer you the highest amount. And you could say, well, look, if they don't want to budge with that, I have somebody willing to pay me this amount, where you're only willing to pay me this amount, and I'm doing the same exact thing. And I know what I'm going to bring there, because these are things I'm going to bring that you're not going to find any, especially in security. Right. And our field right now, as we said, and we're brutally honest about this, 99% of the people in the industry are not good.
Yeah.
At all. Okay. 1% of the people you'll find are really good at their job. And that's why they're looking, and the field is paying that a lot of money. They're paying top dollar. Not everybody, but a lot of places you'll go, you'll find they're paying top dollar, whatever you want, to a certain extent, just to get you.
Yeah.
Because they know that it's hard to find. It's like pulling teeth trying to find a good application security professional, or a security professional, or cybersecurity, whatever professional at that. So again, that goes back. If you're trying to get into this field, know what you are able to do and what you can't do, and be brutally honest about it. Don't fake it if you can't make it, because if you fake it and they find out once you get in there, you're not able to do this, now it's bad.
Yeah.
Because now that's going to carry you across the industry.
Yes.
Because most likely whoever you were hired by knows somebody that you might get hired by. It's all in a row. Everybody knows each other. So, be careful on that too.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Well, and I'll give you, so one of the things that you definitely want to do is figure out what the averages are in general. And I would recommend that whatever salary range you set, you ignore any benefits that the company claims that they have. Because what's going to happen is you're going to start your negotiation and you'll say, I want, let's say, 90,000. And maybe that's the starting average for your industry. Well, the company's going to say, because they probably know what the starting average is as well, they're going to say, well, but our benefits are such that really you should take 80,000, because if you add our benefits in, including you'll get a sign-on bonus, and those are bogus, by the way. You'll get a sign-on bonus, you'll get an annual bonus, and you get stock options. Okay, well, the sign-on bonus, yes, that's a guarantee. The annual bonus is not a guarantee. The stock options are not a guarantee. And it's certainly not a long-term thing. But if any of those three things causes you to adjust your salary downward, that's a permanent thing that impacts your salary almost in perpetuity throughout your entire career. Anytime you take a pay hit, that's negative, and the next time you get a raise, it's building off that pay hit. So if I come into the industry taking less money, then the next raise is not going to make up for it. And then when you go to get another job somewhere, oftentimes they will ask you how much you're making. Never, ever answer that. Some companies, when they go to that company, will tell them what you were making. Some won't. But the reason why they ask that is because, let's say you're making 50,000 here, and you're saying, well, I want 70,000. If you're making 50,000, well, they're going to say, but no, you don't deserve a $20,000 raise just because you're switching companies. So don't ever tell people how much you're making now. That should not be part of the negotiations. Your current salary should be completely, utterly, totally separate. But again, it will impact everything, because no matter what, you're going to go through in your own mind and say, oh, well, 20,000 is a lot of money. Am I really worth it? So instead of asking for 70,000, because that's really more the now adjusted, the newly adjusted average given your experience, you're asking for 65,000 because you're going, wow, 20,000 is too much. No one's ever going to bite. No one's going to take that fish. That goes back to what you were saying. Understand your worth. You have to understand your worth when you're going into this. You need to check data, and don't worry so much about where you live, because unless you live in someplace like, LA or something like that, it's not really going to enter the fray much. Most companies won't care. So where we live, somehow magically, that's about the same cost of living as DC. I've lived in DC, and I will tell you that's factually inaccurate, but that's what companies will tell you. And I mean, we're in Ohio. Nothing in Ohio compares to the housing and cost of living in DC. Nothing. But That's what they say.
Yeah. And also to piggyback on what you said is that if companies are asking for your information like that, they don't need that information.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to give them that information.
Right.
There's nothing in the law saying that you have to give them what you make. That's personal to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to give them what salary you made at your last job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is a negotiation. Again, if they notice you make that, why wouldn't they just pay you the same thing? But they also know that I'm not going to move from there to go here to get paid the same thing. You got to offer me something more than what I'm making to make me buzz.
Right. Right.
You know, so again, if you slip up and make that mistake, you gotta know how to negotiate that. You gotta know how to say, hey, look, okay, yeah, I said that I make that here, but if you want me to move over to do, because a lot of times they want you the job, you got to do extra and more.
Right.
If you want me to do that, then I'm gonna need this.
Right.
And if they don't budge with that, then you don't move.
Right. Right. And if they bring up things, ephemeral things like benefits, again, in that discussion saying, oh, well, but our benefits are better than where you were, or they're more likely, or they're probably, or anything like that. Those benefits should never enter the fray. And don't ever buy into ridiculous benefits like, I gave the number that a certain place we worked at had. Oh, we've got a slide. Who cares if you have a slide? Nobody's going to use it. That was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. They were so proud of that damn slide, too.
Oh, my God. Google has a slide.
Yeah.
Every company has a slide. Dude, I've never once wrote or went down that slide except for when we had to do the
orientation.
Yeah. Other than that, I never touched that slide. I never even went over in that bit.
Right.
So, you know, for them to say, oh, we have a slide, we have this barbershop, and we have that, they're pretty much telling you that they're using that to not pay you the money you deserve.
Yes, exactly. Like you said, the on-site barbershop, the on-site, they had a whole bunch of on-site stuff.
Daycare, everything.
Yeah. And that's what they do to offset the salary, and do not buy that, do not accept it. There's no legitimate reason for you to accept that as a counterweight to getting paid appropriately, because again, if you take that salary hit now, that's going to follow you throughout your career, and it's very hard to recover from. It's incredibly hard to recover from. But there is something that's ridiculously important that I want to make very clear, and I had this talk actually with someone recently. So whatever you do, make sure you don't set your salary too low. And there is such a thing. And I'll give you a simple scenario. So you're at the store. And if right now at this point in your life, you don't have a penny to your name and you're a struggling college student or what have you, I need you to listen and just try your best to imagine this scenario, because I've been poor. Roniel here, I've been dirt poor. Didn't even have dirt. Roniel here has been poor. We understand it, and we definitely get it. But you have to remember, when you're looking for a job, your current situation is not the situation you plan on being in when you get a job. So you need to get out of that mindset when you are applying and say, again, in an ideal world, how should it be? So let's say you're at Walmart or Target or any other just general store, and you're looking at vacuum cleaners because you need a new vacuum cleaner. It's not even one, you need a new vacuum cleaner. So you have a vacuum cleaner that's $20, $100, $400, $600, and $2,000. All right. So you are the company right now trying to hire someone. If you look at that vacuum cleaner and you see a $20 one, the first thing that's going to go through your mind is, what's wrong with that vacuum cleaner? Why is it so cheap? Is it going to last? How quickly is it going to break? When you look at any of the other cheap vacuum cleaners, you're still going to ask similar questions. It won't be as demanding, but what's wrong with this vacuum cleaner? Why is it priced so low? when you look at the extreme end, that $2,000 vacuum cleaner, you're going to ask, am I really getting $2,000 worth? Do I really need a $2,000 vacuum cleaner? How is this going to help me? And that's what goes through business's mind. So if you price yourself too low, you're going to find no one's going to touch you, or few companies, companies worth anything aren't going to touch you, because they're convinced that there must be something wrong with you for you to have priced yourself so out of norm for the market. And you'll be just as toxic as if you had priced yourself out on the high end, claiming that you were worth some exorbitant amount despite a dearth of evidence as such.
As DaRon always say, you don't have, a lot of times you won't have to do that as you get more experience, because your work will speak for itself.
Yes.
You know, and there's a lot of tips and things and tricks that you can learn, especially from off this podcast, that'll help you guys grow into your career. Especially people coming out of college looking to get into this career, and everybody's trying to get in it, but they don't understand or know how. But these are great tips to help you understand and figure out your worth. You know what I'm saying? As you're getting through the career, and knowing that you don't want to set the bar too low. Right. You don't want to set it too high.
Right.
But you want to have goals that maybe you do want to get into that 6-figure range. But a lot of times, some people get there faster. Some people, it takes time.
Right.
Everybody's different. It's like we talked in the last episode about bodybuilding.
Right. Everybody's
different. Everybody's bone structure is different. Everybody's just different. Everybody comes from different cultures. Everybody comes from different struggles. So one person may be in a rich family, maybe to get there faster than you because they were able, or they knew somebody, more people than you.
Right.
And a lot of times in business, it's about who you know and not what you know.
Right.
So you got to understand the differences, but it does not mean that the path won't be the same way, that you can't get to that path like somebody else did. You can get to the path. They may have deviated and went somewhere else, but you'll still get to that path either way. But you just have to build on that, especially when it comes to security. You have to build your experience, and the better your experience, the more you know, the better pay you'll get.
Right. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. So definitely understand your worth. And one of the easiest ways, if you're new, is to go through and just look up average salary for whatever the career is that you're applying for. Let that be the average starting salary. Let that be your guide. Let that determine things. And if maybe you did a little better in school, you can bump it up a smidgen from the average. And if you weren't such a hot shot in school, put it the average.
You know? Yeah, if you wasn't a hot shot, put it at the average, and then as you start building upon that, go from there. Because like again, if we're just talking about, just say we're talking about our field in general, security, there are a lot of not great people. I was about to say stupid, but a lot of not great people that are in the hacking field that's still making good money.
Yes.
All right, but again, they still put in the time to do that, whatever they did, and none of them are all good.
Yes.
But they still put in their time and got their experience and got in. So if a fool with a tool can get into this field and make some money, you can too.
Yes, that's exactly right. That is exactly right.
So anyway, this is our time. I am Roniel.
I am DaRon.
And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any topics or new topics you want to hear or discuss, or if you want to come on to our show, then please let us know down in the comment section. Email us. And we would love to have you on to talk about some different topics or whatever topics you want to talk about. And until then, this conclude our episode. I'm out.
Have fun.